The Dark Room, exploring the strange and controversial, with your hosts, Paul Salvatori and Jordan Randall. Today we're speaking with Linda Redgrave.
But even that with Netflix, everybody wants their shows binge watching. They want it now.
Yeah. But the funniest thing is that most people spend time on Netflix searching for something to watch instead of actually watching something.
Oh, they do?
And there's actually a science behind this. It's called decision fatigue. And when you're given a number of options that's just so huge, it's actually more like it. For one, it takes you a much longer time to actually decide on something in general. And then secondarily, it's much more likely that you'll make a bad choice when you have too many options. And that's like what Netflix, I'm totally guilty of that. Whenever I'm on Netflix, I spend an hour just searching all the things, and then I'll find something. I'm like, yeah, I'll put that in the maybe pile, and then I'll like continue on.
And you don't want to miss anything.
Yeah, but then I end up watching like SpongeBob or something at the end of it, you know?
Exactly.
It's like I spend like 2 hours.
SpongeBob has its place.
Does.
SpongeBob is good.
It's a good show. It's an intellectual show.
I know.
It's more. There's a lot of adults who like SpongeBob. And it's like, come on, do you want to watch SpongeBob? Come on, let's go.
Come on, it's not as bad as it sounds. It's not totally for kids.
I don't know. How did they come up with SpongeBob SquarePants?
I'm willing to bet that LSD was involved.
Yeah, there's some psychedelics
There's
involved
gotta
in
be,
that.
yeah.
There had to be.
It doesn't make any
And I'm
sense.
telling you, I know too many adults who like that show that were raised in the 60s.
There you go.
It
There
is
you go.
bizarre.
Proof's in the pudding.
That's so funny. I know.
All right, well, let's get into this. Okay, so first and foremost, Linda, thank you so much for taking the time to come and sit down with us in this old Italian home to talk.
I feel comfortable here.
Good, yeah. That was always supposed to be, the dark room, but with sort of a warm flair.
Yeah, an Italian
yeah.
warm flair, which is different than regular
There's
warmth.
nothing dark about this room.
Good. Yeah.
It's a lot of flowers.
I know.
That's right.
I know. Jade.
I've never noticed this before for a dark room. This isn't very dark at all.
No.
We should get with our genre here or whatever.
It's the flower room.
Paint the walls
Yeah, there's
black.
so floral patterns everywhere.
Look, there's flowers there.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know. It's incredible. But,
So
Linda,
enough about the flowers.
I'm so happy to talk to you because this is such an important topic. And just to let listeners know, you recently made the decision to come forward. And I want to ask you, in your own words, your decision, let me just rephrase that, Jordan. We'll have to cut that out.
It's the magic of podcasts is we can edit whatever we want.
Yeah. So, in your words, Linda, how would you describe your decision to remain anonymous in the trial?
Why was I anonymous?
Yeah. Why did you decide that?
Because when I first went to the media, I mean, that in itself was huge for me. I was just carrying on with my life. And I was trying to bring to light this problem. I had heard that some woman had said that she had been hurt by him, and he was saying she's just a jilted ex-girlfriend. And I thought, wait, hold on. Right. There's a story here, but I wasn't really sure what to do with it. So at first I thought I should go to CBC and ask them if I can talk to this girl to tell her there's another one. Because I didn't know at that point there was lots.
Right.
Lots and lots. So I ended up, somebody gave me an article from Kevin Donovan. And then I emailed him. And surprise, he emailed me really fast. Really, really fast back. And then I also, at the same time, contacted CBC. And they got back to me just as fast at that point.
Right.
And I was really afraid. I was terrified because if you were looking online, there was all these people saying how horrible these women were, or this woman was. And I think there might have been a couple at that point. And they're saying, oh, come on, all the horrible hate was pouring out. And I thought, I don't want people coming and standing outside my house throwing eggs and saying, trying to kill me. So when I contacted CBC, I mean, Kevin Donovan kept it anonymous, but CBC wanted me on air with my face, and I said, no. And then they had to go through a whole bunch of rigmarole to get back to me to decide if they could do it in shadows. And then there was all the legal aspects. If we said this, what will happen with that? But I didn't want to be known. I did not want to be known because I was just terrified of what people would do to me at that point. And this happened really quickly. I mean, I'm just living my life, and then bang, I get this article from a friend, and then I'm doing these things. And I didn't really have time to think, and I didn't want to just go, hey, it's me, come kill me. I live, I'm not giving you my address. So that was initially. And then when it came time to go to the police station, which I only did after, I didn't even know I could go, but Bill Blair had been on in a press conference, and he said, we want, you to come and report your complaints, and that there's no statute of limitations. And then I had to think about it, and I thought, if I go to the police station, are there still going to be media in my face, and what am I going to do with that? And it was still all very, very quick. So after some research, I found out that I would be anonymous, and I thought, okay, fine, I'll go. This is the right thing to do, right? It is the right thing to do. So I went, and there's an automatic publication ban when you do that. So it wasn't even a decision of mine at that point. So to have it waived, you'd have to apply for it. Well, actually, I think at that point I could have, I think Lucy Ducoteur, she must have said in the police station that she didn't want, no, actually she had already come forward, but she didn't want to have a publication ban. I probably could have done it there, but I wasn't even close to ready. So it was automatic. I had it, and then I had time to think. But as time went on, and the little things that are coming up, you said this one word in a text message instead of that word, and I'm realizing, are you kidding? What does this have to do with an assault? And I thought, this is big. This is not right. There's something wrong with this. And I always knew that I wanted to at some point be visible. Right. And I had said it in one of my interviews with CBC. I had said, I think it was a radio one. He asked me about, why are you hiding? And I said, well, right now I have to think about it, kind of thing. And that one day you'll know who I am. And now everybody knows who I am.
Yeah. No, Linda, that's perfect segue into this question, because I was wondering if you could tell listeners about the day you decided to come forward, what that was like.
Well, I had actually decided to come forward way back. But I didn't want to do it during the trial, because if I did it during the trial, that would mean the attention would all be about me, and it would take away from my focus on the trial. Mm-hmm. So I decided to wait. And my intention was to do it on the day of the verdict. I wanted to go down the stairs. We always talk about the statement on the steps. My lawyer did, and Lucy's lawyer did, and the last girl didn't have one making a statement. But I wanted to go down and make my own statement on the stairs. And I had this in my head that that's what I was going to do. But I was told, not a good idea. This is about the verdict. This isn't about you. And I think the biggest thing was I had done an interview for the Fifth Estate. And the other girls had done an interview too. And I was in a shadow. And they were in a complete panic, because I was saying, okay, verdict day, I'm going to lift my ban because the judge is in the courtroom. Mm-hmm. You can just ask for it. Well, not myself. I'd have to get the Crown to say. And it's not even up to me. He could say no. That's the other thing. He had the right to say no, but the Fifth Estate were just panicking beyond belief because they would have to reshoot. That's what they said. Okay. And people said, no, they don't. They can do it, and then just show a picture and say she's come forward. But they were just phoning me saying, are you doing it? Are you doing it? Tell us now. They're phoning my lawyer, who was on a cruise. They were like, here he is at his lobster buffet, and he has to to deal with the Fifth Estate panicking. Is she going to lift her pub ban? Right? So yeah, I thought, fine, okay, fine. I'm not going to lift it on the 24th. And it worked out because that day, after hearing the judge's ruling, I was so upset.
All right.
I would have gone down those stairs and I probably would have said, that guy up there.
Right.
It wouldn't have been good. So my lawyer said, let me do this, so I relayed my message and he went down and did his thing. And then I had to apply. I had to apply to lift my ban.
Right.
So and it takes a while.
So I just want to go to that moment when you heard the verdict. What was your immediate reaction, or how would you describe what went on at that point?
I didn't have a problem with the verdict. I was always expecting not guilty, and so was everyone else. That wasn't the issue. The problem was Judge Horkins. How he stereotyped when he said, that he didn't want to stereotype, and then he goes on to stereotype and how he was so condescending, and how he threw everything out with my case based on a suggestion from Marie Henein, not even based on fact. And I learned that he was within the first hour or so, he had already made up his mind that I was a liar and next. So the next day, and it was a waste of time. It was the condescension. It was the collective gasp I heard across the country when he said, not all victims of sexual assault are truthful. Like, why did he have to say that? Those things were what upset me beyond belief. Those things were screaming in my head. How? Why? This man who is supposed to understand about memory, he's supposed to understand about how women or men would behave after a sexual assault. This man is sitting there acting like just a common person. He succumbed to group thinking without thinking beyond that. And all along I had defended this man by saying, oh no, he doesn't need any expert witnesses. That's for a jury. That wouldn't be for a judge who's a seasoned judge of 20 years, who's been a defense lawyer for how many years. Why would he need expert witnesses? And I'm pretty sure that's the way it goes. You would have an expert witness for a jury, not for him. He needed expert witnesses because for him to say my behavior was odd. Odd meaning what? Stands out. It's different. It's unusual. Then everybody had that odd behavior. So how am I odd? Especially when he's dealing with 3 cases. Similar. How am I odd? Nothing made sense. Nothing at all made sense with what he with his ruling. So the not guilty part, I was expecting that. I was not expecting this guy to make us like, you bad little girls, you wasted court time, you lied. I mean, he didn't say that, but that's how it felt.
Right.
So.
Certainly.
So how do you feel about Ghomeshi's lawyer being female?
Well, I've thought about that a lot, and I think had he had a male in the room, attacking us, it probably would have not. People would have really, been upset about that. It wasn't that he had a female. It was that she's a mother of 2, and I have heard not the best mother of 2, and that she took this case because of the dollar value. She gets paid a lot of money, and I mean thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars per day in court go to Marie Heinen's firm. It wasn't about anything but making money. And it's like I don't actually blame Gian for picking a female, but I have judgment about her for taking this case and doing what she did and attacking us on the stand like that.
For sure.
So, Linda, you would agree with some of the people possibly who've come out on Twitter and things like that saying that she let down her sisters?
Oh, yes, I do. I mean, somebody asked me, what would you say to her if you were stuck in an elevator? It would be like, how could you? How could you do this? Who are you? How do you look at yourself in the mirror? Especially in regards to my case, she created a smokescreen and created a lie that didn't exist. It didn't exist. And she basically won her case with me on a lie. How does she look at herself in the mirror knowing that we all didn't lie? Or maybe she doesn't care if we lied or not. It's all about the money. To me, it was a big performance. It was like an Oscar performance that she was giving. And then she had her co-star, Danielle Robitaille. That was there was something about the way they coordinated it, the way they dress, the way they act. They walk into the court, they have to have this sulk on their face as they're walking in, holding on to Gian, or, it's like, oh, here we are.
Yeah, it's very dramatic.
Oh, it was very, and in court, she was completely dramatic. I mean, people read how she was, but if you were sitting there, I was sitting there laughing at my inside. I'm thinking, are you kidding? Is she really doing this? And this is 2016, and she's doing this. This is a joke. This isn't justice. This isn't fact-finding. This isn't about, who did this or did that. This is about someone who's getting thousands and thousands of dollars a day to be in court to create these lies and smoke screens. And then when I found out the brother, son, Horkin's son working with her brother connection, I had a hard time not thinking there was something in that. And I've heard in the legal community, it's very small and it's not unusual to run into other, lawyers. They cross paths and journalists cross paths. But I just think in a high profile case like this, Canada's biggest sexual assault scandal, basically, wouldn't we need to know that? He talks about not disclosing, and then he does that. Didn't disclose that he had that family connection. Like, I keep thinking they had Passover together.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. I'm sitting there thinking
suspect.
I've seen doctors, lawyers, and all that together at parties, and they all talk. And for someone to say they don't, I don't believe that, not for a second. They talk.
Of course they do. They're human beings, and they talk.
And friends,
and their
and
friends,
family.
and their family. Yeah, it's suspect.
Yeah. I think I told Jordan this, but I wonder specifically about criminal defense lawyers. Like, if we all woke up one day, all things being equal, and we had the expertise. Like, the only thing that changed is that we had the expertise. Somehow we got it overnight to be like an amazing criminal defense lawyer. How many people would do it? Because I think it takes a certain mentality or an ability to section off, all these concerns that we're talking about, like what you might represent to women, what you might be reintroducing into society if this person gets off, like all these sorts of pangs of conscience or moral qualms. So,
and it's extra bad because it's versus that dollar sign. It's just like where that can override your moral qualms. It's like, really, what kind of integrity does a person have? Like what you're saying, when you can be so easily bought, and then completely go against any convictions that you either do have or should have.
Well, my lawyers are criminal defense lawyers. And one thing I've learned from them is that everybody is entitled to a good defense. And there are some cases where, the people that are accused get a really bad rap. And there's all kinds of, issues that need to be addressed, and they're good at finding, some people need that, but to take on something like that, or to take on someone that is just evil, that's where I think it's not right. So I understand there's some people when they're charged with a crime, typically what will happen is the police will start throwing in every charge under the sun they can think of, right? So we're going to charge you with this. You looked over there. Okay, we're charging you with that too. So it's understandable. You want somebody to put the charges in check and in order and get a good defense. But when you're talking about somebody who clearly has a pattern of abuse and you choose to defend him, I question who she is. And I could understand if she was trying to get him on a lesser charge of assault, but to just try to say that we're liars because of a color of a car, things like that doesn't make sense to me at all. Sure. Not at all. Yeah. It's wrong.
Yeah. I guess at some point somebody would have taken the money to stand to his defense, but I guess it hurts that much more because she is a female also. And it's just kind of
it's not extra. Just she's a female, she's really aggressive, and she's nasty, but she's predictable. Like in court, I was forewarned about her tactics, about her methods, and because I was expecting a lot of it. It was humorous. She does this pulling her glasses off and looking at you. She bobs and weaves. She paces. And the second day I was in court, I was really mad at her. I just thought, game on, bitch. Come on, let's go, right? And I refused to look at her. I didn't look at her. I was looking at the judge. I answered to the judge. I looked past her. And she was doing her pacing, but it wasn't working because it's part of her thing. Right. And I heard that they go to a special training place to learn how to
scare tactics,
screw you up, to whack you, to poke you, to get you to all flustered so you forget what you're going to say. Wow. And so I stopped looking at her, and she said, "Ms. Redgrave, I'm over here." And I looked over her shoulder like, "Oh, okay." And she was livid. Now, I heard that she was going to be doing another case after that had to do with a judge, and she had to cross-examine a judge. And I've heard that won't work with a judge. She could not say, "Your Honor, I'm over here." So these are things that this is what I question. Why the hell is it allowed for her to do that in the first place? This is a sexual assault trial, and it's really sensitive and difficult, but she is allowed to yell at me, to get me going, to pace back and forth and insist that I look her in the eye. Which one? I don't know. She kept pulling the 4 eyes off and on. And why? And I looked at the judge many times. He never stopped her. And people said, well, she wasn't really whacking in this case, that she was actually pretty calm. And I thought, are you kidding? I felt attacked by her. And it was annoying. And I kept looking at the judge, and nothing. The only thing he ever did when I was there was she asked me, why didn't I go to the police and report? And I said, well, I didn't create the stigma about reporting, but I was well aware of it. And Heinen says, I object, because I had heard from the very beginning, wasn't going to let this be about, women being shamed and blamed. She didn't want to go down that road, so she was trying to cut it off. And the judge said, well, I think she was just trying to talk about her state of mind. So that was the only time he ever stood up for me, since no one else could in court, apparently. Not Michael Callahan. I didn't have a lawyer in court, not allowed. It's not the way it's done. So it was very frustrating. Like, why is it allowed for her to run back and forth and yell at you and get you going with, and da-da-da. And then there were times I tried to take the wind out of her sails, where I'd take a minute and I'd go, no, or I'd answer. And she knew when she was cross-examining me that I had been prepared. And people who had said, oh, you all had lawyers, how come you were so unprepared? If you had seen, or if you would know what I would have been like without my lawyers, oh my lordy, I would have been gone in an hour. Mm-hmm. I would have been gone. But I didn't get my lawyers till later. I got them after I'd already made statements and done everything wrong. So they were doing damage control, sort of. But it's wrong. The way they do this is wrong.
Mm-hmm. So, Linda, how different was being on the stand for you than you envisioned it before the trial?
I had a pretty good idea of what I was up against, but what I wasn't anticipating was the adrenaline rush that I was going through. And it wasn't all about Marie Heinen. She actually annoyed me more than anything. I wasn't afraid of her at all. Not at all. Sorry, Heinen. But it was more the camera in my face, a gallery of people tweeting everything you're saying. And you're thinking, okay, if I answer this, they're all reporting it back. So there's so many things to think about. Listen carefully to the question. Okay, how's my posture? Can't cross my arms and sit back, which is a natural defense, right? When you got this biatch going, oh, you did this and you did that. You want to sit back and defend yourself. So try to sit up. And I have a bad back, so I was trying to sit forward. And then they said, oh, no, the mic's too close to you. And it was all these things I'm trying to take in all at the same time. And then sometimes I lost it. And I remember saying that I had spoken to the third witness. And I said, wait, no, I didn't mean her. I meant her. I meant Lucy, and it was hard. But that was the hard part, the attack. It felt like, and I've said this before, that I was on a game show, that the world was watching, and that if I got the answer wrong, I got a poison arrow in my head and I died. So I had to keep always on my game, because you're going to die. So the adrenaline was so high, and that I wasn't expecting. I knew that I was going to go through a hard, difficult time. I knew that. It was no question. And I had an idea. I knew what to listen for with her questioning. May I suggest, Ms. Redgrave? No, I'm not going there, right? That means you're trying to trick me. Yeah. Right? So I would never say, oh, yeah, you're right, but no, you don't do that. But I didn't expect the adrenaline. And I had this unbelievable thirst. I had told them that I didn't want to drink tap water because I'm a snob. I said, so I brought my Evian, and I brought 2 big bottles with me to court, and I drank 2 of those. And then I drank another one as I got home, and I was still thirsty. And I was looking it up online that it's a cortisol response, and cortisol goes through the roof when you're in stress. My body thought, okay, danger, drink lots of water, eat lots of fat, go hibernate. Marie Hennen's in town.
I was going to ask you, Linda, about the whole issue of the defense's examination being purposely, not just incidentally, but purposely hostile and intimidating. Did you feel intimidated or just attacked?
She did not intimidate me in any way, shape, or form. I just felt annoyed by her questions, and I felt attacked. That was the biggest problem. She didn't scare me, and I've heard that people said I was the best one on the stand, and that she was harder on me than anybody else. But it wasn't that I wasn't, it wasn't bothering me, or I wasn't afraid, or it was just that I was prepared for her line of questioning, and she bugged me. She really bugged me. So I wasn't afraid of that woman, but being on the stand was like being in another world, because of the magnitude of the case and everybody watching you. And I tried not to look at that camera in my face. And then looking at the judge, who refused to look at me.
Wow.
He refused to look at me. And I heard with the third witness that he had intervened a few times and had said, oh, you know, helped her out. But with me, they just let her rip.
Really?
Because I think he thought I was stronger than maybe I am. And I think I took a beating. Mm-hmm. But they said I was a tennis racket.
A tennis racket?
Yeah, the victim witness, when I got off and we finished, they said, you were a tennis racket. Yeah, I kept putting them back. Mm-hmm. Nice. Because I wasn't surprised, shocked, scared. There was nothing she did that I wasn't even expecting. Mm-hmm. Except talking about my ex-husband. I think they squelched that. They made me leave the room. It had nothing to do with anything. Like, what does your ex-husband have to do with him punching me in the head? Oh, right, nothing.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think they brought it up? Just to try it?
She was trying to bring up, oh, you're not afraid to call the police and things. But nothing to do with anything. Whatever you've done in the past has nothing to do with this. And that was pretty old school, what she was doing, and they got rid of it. So the fact that she's a female and she's in there and she's trying to do the old school type of whacking, like,
wow, yeah,
come on, earn your $1 billion a day. But as she said in an interview, on to the next case. She doesn't care about Ghomeshi.
Yeah,
she cares about her money.
That's why I think, like, again, like, it requires. I mean, there's a documentary called Mob Lawyer, and it pretty much shows you what it takes to be a criminal defense lawyer. You just have to see things like, you know, in categories. And sometimes when I talk to law students, they'll be like, you know, it's just about defending the rights of your client. But that's not the point, you know. That's what I'm concerned about is how you can do that in the face of all these possibilities that this person has done this, and this. How are you able to focus just on that? Because to me, it's fascinating. I'd like to really sit down, like, with a criminal lawyer who defends the worst of the worst and understand their mentality, like how they can achieve that. Because I don't think everyone could do it. Even if they did wake up one morning with expertise. So to me, that's still a mystery.
It does take a certain type of person. But so with regards to the verdict, and you said you expected it. I mean, like, you could have expected it, but obviously this isn't what you really wanted in terms of justice. Is that safe to assume?
No, I really didn't go into this to put him in jail. It was more to tell people that there was a problem. Mm-hmm. What I would have loved to have seen is kind of strange, but guilty with no jail time. Mm-hmm. I think that would have been, because jail's not going to help that man, not at all. But at least guilty would validate what happened to us.
For sure.
And that, but not jail. I wasn't in it for that. But when I went to the police and they said, you know, people are saying, walk your talk, go stop being in the shadows. And then I went and, you know, then I knew I could do it. I just started moving forward. I wasn't really thinking about what was next. I just made my complaint to the police. I had no idea that they were going to charge him. But they said, if we do, are you willing to go forward? And I thought, well, I'm not going to do this and say no. It didn't make sense to me. I had to, so I did. And then to me, it was all more about the police and the judge, who I thought was better than he is. I heard he was very fair. But before the trial actually happened, I heard he was considered a very fair judge, and that I don't think that now. I can see exactly what he is, and he was not the right person for the job. But I didn't care about the not guilty. Didn't bother me. It was the judge that bothered me. He was so not only invalidating, he was condescending. He was mean.
So do you think that the problems within this whole thing they boil down to the individuals that were there, or is it the system?
The system.
Yeah.
Well, both. In this case, both. I really am having a hard time not believing that the Heinen brother, Horkin's son relationship didn't have anything to do with it. Like, it would take a lot to convince me that didn't have something to do with it. But I think it had to do with, the judge not understanding anything about sexual assault. clearly not his forte. And the system where a lay person sits on the stand and gets whacked by someone who's doing this job for 25 years, can't clarify anything. You can't say, could I just, nothing. You can't say anything. You can answer a question, can't ask one, and you're there with your hands tied. And then when she makes up her lies, you can't say, wait a minute, I'm the Crown Attorney. Well, he threw in the towel. Mm-hmm. He gave up. He just threw it away. He was a really nice guy too. Like I really do like Michael Callahan. He was really nice to me, and telling my story to him, in my cross in chief in the beginning was good, because I was terrified going into this, and then I get to look at a familiar, happy face. But in the end, he really let me down.
Mm-hmm. So, Linda, I'm especially interested in getting your point of view on this, because I've done a lot of, when I was doing my thesis, especially a lot of philosophical research on the way we make sense of the past. Mm-hmm. So, how has the trial experience changed your view about human memory?
Well, it actually hasn't changed my view on human memory. It's just, I think I always knew that memory was the way I presented it, and people said it was lies and I withheld. But memory is, especially memory related to trauma or any kind of abuse or life or death experience, you don't. It's not linear. It's not, oh yeah, this happened and I was wearing blue shoes, and when we drove up after we had our pizza, and you don't remember all that. You remember, okay, the guy had a knife and he was, you remember that. Right. And so it's more fragmented the way you'll remember it. So to judge me on, in my early, very quick statement to the police, not telling everything perfectly and having all the details in place, but I had the assaults in place. I found that very unfair, because I think that's how memory works with trauma. And I've said to so many people, if you were to even just without the trauma, tell someone about a movie you saw 13 years ago.
Right.
You're going to go back to the main events. What's the movie about? Oh, that's a movie about, da-da-da-da-da-da. And then after, if you told it again, you go, oh, yeah, there was another part that was really cool, that I remembered that. And it's exactly the same. But people judged me on, oh, well, she withheld at the police station. I went to the police station not knowing that was my statement for Marie Heinen. I thought it was just giving the complaint, and it was a green light to go ahead, and that they would call me back and ask me other questions. And no, that was it. And I was a wreck, and nobody told me, don't talk like this. It's the Italian. That's not in me. That is in me. Right. Yeah. Right? I don't talk like this. And I was gestures and not words. And in court, they said, look, see, you said that and you did that. And I said, I'm talking over him. Right. I'm talking like an Italian way.
Right, exactly.
And it was just not. I think the police should have said, listen, descriptive, slow down. You're racing, you're nervous. All kinds of, they should have really taken the reins and told me, this is what you do. The bull by the horn. Mm-hmm. But they didn't. And it ruined everything. That.
Yeah.
It's fascinating though how the police tend to have this way of, when you go to them with a problem, they sort of make you feel like you're the one who caused the problem, like you're the guilty one. And
no, actually, they actually didn't. They didn't. No, and this came up in court too, where Heinen says, "Do you feel safe?" You were happy. All the things I had said about the police, and I said, "Yeah, but the one thing that was missing was a really good, clear investigation, and not being given my rights. I didn't know that my speaking to them is not confidential. I didn't know that everything I said after, from the minute I walked in there, From then on in, was walked over. So if I were to have a phone conversation with the detective, that goes over to the defense. Like nobody tells you that. Why?
Right.
I have in writing from the detective that I don't need a lawyer. So, and this was in regards to third-party records. So they emailed me and said, just come down to the police station and we want to see all your text messages to your friends, and whatever, to the ones that were my witnesses that they interviewed to even get the charge going. And we want to see all your, your text messages, your emails, Facebook and everything. Just, we'll be here today and at that point I had finally retained lawyers. And they said to me, no. You don't just hand that over. There's a procedure. They have to apply for the third-party records. And I said to the detective, I'll think about it. I've retained counsel, and I'll think about it. And they said, no, you don't need lawyers. You don't need lawyers. If you have any questions, you can talk to the Crown. So there I am, retaining a lawyer, telling them that, no, I'm not going to bring in my third-party records and hand them over. And they said, no, I have it in writing. You don't need it. You don't need that. But I did, because the procedure is for third-party records, the Crown or legal aid will pay for you to have a lawyer to have, the defense is supposed to apply for them, and you're entitled to that. And if you hand them over, too bad for you. You handed them over. So they'll know everything about you, all your personal business that has nothing to do with them. Marie Heinen and Ghomeshi would be reading it and seeing it, and all my witnesses, all their business, and they have no right to it at all. But yet, they asked me to just hand it over. And really, so is that not shoddy police work? Is that a nice type policy and procedure that they follow? No, that is unbelievable. And I was in a very high-profile sexual assault case. What about the poor person who's been raped and goes into a police station and they say, just give us your text messages? It's not right. They were sloppy on a lot of that right from the beginning. And that's something that has to change. I'm in a high profile case and they're telling me you don't need a lawyer. And then the next emails are, okay, going on with the fact that you have a lawyer, and then you find out that Lucy has a lawyer and the other one has a lawyer for their third-party records, as you're supposed to have, detective.
No, that's right, Linda. I thought your Shadow Lane article was so interesting because you talk about that. That was like one of the things you wished you knew before you testified. Also, the way you'd be treated on the stand. It was quite a list. So I'm just wondering, what now do you think is the most important thing you wish you would have known?
Oh, from walking into the police station forward. That's what I keep saying to everyone and people who are writing to me. I said, you need information, you need to be armed. Don't walk into the police station and just start talking, because they're not going to help you. They're not going to help you. You're going to say things that are going to come back to bite you, and it's not right. Nobody tells you that it's not confidential, not even to the victim witness services. That blew my brains out. Are you kidding? So you're talking to these people who are holding your hand saying, do you need any help? Well, like they always ask everybody, do you need help? Do you need counseling? Do you need... Those people, every single word you say to them can be requisitioned by the defense. But they don't tell you. Why not? Why don't you have the right to know that? Is that like in a sexual assault case? You should know everything. So there should be something when you go in that you know. So I would not have gone to media. But I see at that point, this is a hard thing though. I did not know that I could go to the police. I thought that was so far gone. I didn't know there was no statute of limitations on sexual assault. So, going to the media first is not ideal, but going to the police, you need to be really clear with your statement. You need to really know that this is what I want to say, and this is how I want to say it. And that's why it's recommended, if you can, and there's a pilot project now in Ontario for getting legal counsel and getting advice before you go to the police station would be ideal. And, a lot of people don't run off to the police station anyway. It's not, you ask anybody who's a victim of sexual assault, that's the last thing on their mind. You have to really drag them in. And that is wrong. There should be something set up where it's not, where it is a safe place for you to go and report, where someone can say, okay, let's make sure, before you make a statement, this is what you want to say, and then we can get you some help, or even some guidance, even if there was a psychologist who could talk to them a bit before they went and made their statement. But what I went through making a statement, and when I saw the statement, I didn't even recognize myself. I was so nervous when I made it, and I thought, are you kidding? This is what they used? This is what they use, and this is what they use to lay a charge. I was.
That's interesting. That's good to know, though, for people that may run into these problems. I mean, because that's a big thing, and it's crazy that they wouldn't give you at least some guidelines of what's going on. I mean,
like Ghomeshi got read his rights, right? He didn't get arrested in the usual way. I don't know why. Maybe would have messed up his hair or something, but he got read his rights. The victim witnesses get read nothing other than this big, long spiel with the police about don't lie, which is fine. But then there should be another big, long, thing they read about. Everything is not confidential. If they should actually ask too about emails and contact. That was something that they never asked me. I mean, they asked me, did you have contact with him? And I said, no. And people said, oh, she withheld, she lied. No, I didn't remember because he didn't reciprocate. There was nothing back. So it didn't stick in my mind. And I'm thinking, I think I did send him a picture and an email. I mean, they were talking a long time ago, right? Like, I think I did. I'm pretty sure. And I know exactly why. I remember wanting to. I actually remembered writing something. And when I said to Henein, oh, it was in anger. And she says, oh, angry email. I'm like, yeah, it was in anger. The email wasn't angry, but I was. And then she tried to, with her thousands and thousands of dollars a day in court, Oscar performance, make out like I was lying about that too. And then you got, back to the group thinkers who go, oh, look, she did this, she did that. Kind of reminds me of a Twilight Zone episode I watched where I can't remember the episode, maybe someone else will, where people were running around all hysterical in the street because that was the bad person. And then somebody says, no, it's not him. It's him in that house. And they're all like, oh, no, it's...
So you just... Whoever it is.
Whoever they say it is.
It's the mass hysteria, the mass group thinking. It's so easy for people to all get together and go, oh, look at that. Walk in my shoes, and then do it. Yeah. If it's them on trial, they would change their tune. But it's easy from the comfort of your iPad to say, ooh, look how bad she is.
Absolutely. Linda, I want to ask if it's okay about that email. Say he did respond, like, what would you want to say, or what were you thinking of maybe saying to him, maybe to get some closure or whatever might have you?
Well, what I wanted... Well, it's really difficult for a lot of people to understand, and then I go back to people should not judge the way somebody acts after an assault, because I mean, what basis do they have to judge other than their own experience? And if you haven't had that experience, I've had lots of people write to me who have said I've done similar, and one of the girls who had their charges dropped has talked to me, and I'm pretty sure the reason they dropped her charge is because she had contact after. But this is not uncommon for women. Women want to understand. They want to fix things. It's part of your self-esteem. It's like if you can get that person's attention and talk to them, then maybe that abuse really wasn't as bad or didn't mean what it meant, because he was such a nice person. So I've said all along that abuse cloaked in kindness, that is so confusing. And that was the biggest problem with Gian is, and everybody had this same problem, and other women and the women who have reported that haven't come forward have all said that the fact that he was so nice, he wasn't just nice, he was really nice. And, I go to his car and it's a small yellow car now in 2002. Who drove a small yellow car? Nobody. Everyone had mid-sized cars, silver, black, gray. Nobody had a small little yellow car. Yeah. And so it just added to the sweetness kind of about him. The opening doors. No, I have to drink lots of coffee or I get a headache. And, you're thinking he's a nice guy. And then, bang, he switches, right? So it's really confusing. Mm-hmm. And it adds to the confusion when you can't clarify it. Mm-hmm. And as women, I think women who typically have had abuse have had multiple abuses. And it's not, it's the key had some kind of subliminal message from me that I was this kind of person he could do this to. And I need to know why. So my sending him emails, if you noticed, they escalated. They were, hi, here's a video I was in, because I used to do commercials and things back then. Mm-hmm. And then nothing. And then I send him another one and it's, say hi to our friend Mike, and something else I said. Yeah, I'm joking around. And then the next one I send a picture. Mm-hmm. It's escalating, like a kid wanting candy. It's like, I want you to get back to me. And it wasn't that I wanted him to get back to me so I can just go, oh, good, great, he likes me. Mm-hmm. It's trying to find the answer and understand what the hell was that that happened. And it's hard for a lot of people to conceptualize in their brain that someone would want to go and see somebody after, but it's typical. I mean, look at even Rihanna goes back to Chris Brown, and her explanation, pretty similar. Yeah. Not identical, but similar. It's not uncommon for women to do that. So when people say, oh my God, and even the judge saying, she sent that, well, that's odd behavior. It's not odd at all. And he needed somebody to clarify that for him. He needed an expert witness that I swore he didn't need. He needed that because he seemed to have zero knowledge on that. I mean, it is so typical of a woman to want to fix things.
But, and think of all the people who are in abusive relationships. Like
married, living with someone. They don't leave.
That's right.
Just what do they say about that? Well, because this was, what's it? It's the same.
Yeah. No, so Linda, that's why I think you made a really powerful statement. I'm just going to read it for the podcast listeners, and maybe you could comment on it. It was a really powerful, interesting remark that I think bears on gender. The trial judge, Justice Horkins, called my behavior odd, but the other two women had similar behavior. We didn't behave maybe as a man would have, who doesn't have a clue about these issues. So maybe you could share a little bit more about what you meant by that, because I think it ties into everything we're talking about here.
Well, it goes back to what I was just saying, that, I mean, if you look at Lucy and you look at witness number 3, they all had some post contact, and I believe them both. I mean, I know, and I've spoken to another I told you, another girl whose charges were dropped, because initially there were 5, and they dropped 2 because the probability of conviction was low. But I think that was because they had similar behavior to what we were doing, right? It's typical. It's very typical. I mean, women like to fix things. They like to understand things, whereas men, I can't generalize for all men, obviously, but typically, so if I were to stereotype, I guess, about men, they would, punch each other in the head and then go for a beer, and they'd be fine.
That's exactly what happens.
Yeah, it's a different animal. Okay, women need to understand. So a girlfriend of mine said she and her friend had gone to a bar, and the friend she had gone with had brought a guy with her. And they're at the bar, and the guy says he has to go to the bathroom, and he disappears. So, I think a man might in that situation say, what a bitch, gone, see you later. But this woman, as soon as they go back to the friend's house, is phoning. Where are you? What happened? They want to know. Women want to know. So right after what happened to me in the house, I didn't really want to know anything at that point. But then as you have time to think and his face is constantly coming up, it just, I could never really try to bury it.
Yeah.
Because he was always there in the media. And then he started slowly becoming more popular. And for all the people who thought that I was a gold digger and I just wanted to be with someone famous, I don't think doing a local show in a family restaurant is really famous. So he was doing play out of Movenpick. And I hated Moxie Fruvis. Oh my God.
I remember.
Oh, I hated them. I did. I didn't. I thought they were not my cup of tea. So it wasn't at that point. It wasn't like he was on cue and he was popular. No, I met him when he was in the family restaurant. Okay.
So, in the aftermath of everything, so are people coming to you now? Are people trying to get in touch with you, namely other victims of sexual assault? Are you getting anything like that? I know you have your website.
Yep.
We should talk about that too. Yeah.
Yeah. If you care to elaborate a bit more on what you're doing on your website and what the response of the general populace has been towards you in the aftermath of this.
I'm actually really happy with the response because I was afraid, especially after lifting the pub ban. Oh my lordy. I thought I'd have people wanting to kill me or something, but I've had people write to me saying, "Oh, since you've lifted your publication ban, I've gone and reported a sexual assault, that happened to me." And I have an unbelievable amount of men writing to me. Some just saying thank you. Almost all my emails start with thank you, and it almost brings me to tears. But men saying thank you and men sharing their experiences of sexual assault. And I'm thinking they don't really have anywhere to put it. Mm-hmm. And I've had people who have been in high profile sexual assault cases contact me, but I've had a lot of response, and it's I say positive, but people telling me their stories, and it makes me realize that there's a big problem. And then people also telling me the problems that they're having with the police and that. And I realize a lot of the problems that people are facing is from the police station on. And that is one thing that I'm committed to trying to change, to get policies and procedures so that when somebody reports a sexual assault, that this is what happens. It's not just like, oh, Bob, can you talk to her now? Okay, it has to be very, very strict guidelines that they adhere to. But it's been really good, but it's been overwhelming too. I actually think I need an assistant to go through the emails because I don't want anyone to be forgotten. And I've had a lot of people who have been offering services, and one fellow said he would make my site bilingual. Other people are offering to do seminars, and I've had lots of doctors, forensic scientists, people offering to do things. So I'm thinking, I'm hoping that like in a year from now, I'll have like this big collaboration of people working together. It's not just, Linda's site. It's going to be, this resource that I want it to be. And the reason I put it together was to help people, because I knew early on that there was something wrong. And I thought, should I write a book? And then I thought, I should write a book. It's more about, hey, poor me, I went through this trial. And I thought, no, I need something to help people. And then I purposely timed it to put this together before the verdict,
right?
Because I was going to run away and hide and say, screw this, right? So I did that just to keep myself on track and on my intention to do this. So my website is not where I want it to be. It is pretty much bare bones up there right now. And I may have to change a few things, but I've had a pretty good response, though, to it. I have to say, I've had a really good response.
Fantastic.
Yeah. No, Linda, I have to ask because
Go ahead.
I feel
You're not
like
Marie
you're.
Heinen.
I feel you're such a survivor, and at the same time you were violated. So I'd like to know just whether you feel or identify primarily as a victim or survivor.
Oh, I tend to go with survivor, but with this appeal that's still hanging over, I'm feeling kind of victim, which I don't want to, because being a victim doesn't help anyone. But no, I'm a survivor, and it's not the first for me. I'm a survivor of childhood sexual assault. So, and like I said before, most women who, or men who have had that happen, usually have multiple assaults. It's something, some vibe or some subliminal message that we give off. But basically, I feel more of a survivor, and that's why I'm trying to keep plugging on with something positive, because I didn't want to roll over and play victim. And I think that's why I put my website out before the verdict, so that I wouldn't roll over and play victim, because it would have been so easy just to lay in bed and cry and feel like, what the heck happened? But it's my fight back and not trying not to be a victim.
For sure.
I imagine it's been quite empowering.
It's been empowering, and I'm finding that the people that are reaching out to me are really helping that empowerment a lot. Like it means so much. Whenever somebody sends me anything, I feel like I have to respond. Like I don't want anyone to go, oh, I wrote her and she didn't care, But at the same time, I'm not. I can't give out counseling or anything like that. And so some people, I think, get a little bit foggy on that one, but I feel for everybody who reaches out. But that's been the most touching thing, is people reaching out to me. And I'm finding that the majority of the people, so there's 5%, I'd say, of all the people that contact me, Twitter, Facebook, that 5% are haters. And I'm getting really good at troll patrol.
Yeah.
So I go and I find the friends first. I block them, and then I block the other one. But at first, the first person who started creating this culture of hate just on me, not even the others, just me, right? I started getting afraid, and I'm getting over that now. It comes with the territories. I've got all these security measures put in place now with my emails and my sites. There's unbelievable amounts of numbers of people trying to hack my site.
Wow.
So my web guy says he's got that all ramped up. But yeah, people are evil and people are great. But I'm finding that in this case, more people are nice and more people are supportive and helpful, and like I'm really blown away by it all. So hopefully, in all this horribleness, this horrible trial, that something good comes from it.
Yes, certainly. Okay.
All right. Well, on that note, Linda, thank you so much for taking the time again. And we wish you all the best in getting the support that you need and giving the support to people that need it.
And comingforward.ca.
Yeah, tell us. Comingforward.ca.
Perfect. Yeah, we'll definitely have a link for that somewhere below the player. Alrighty.
Okay.
Somewhere underneath the ground.
I know.
It's in the basement with the stove.
I know.
right.
Oh, you got to see that. Thank you so much.
That's the dark room.
This
is the flower room.
I know.
Those are the flowers.
We're going to change the name of our podcast show to The Flower Room.